Before the Oscars went ratchet, there were the Source Awards. Let's talk about it. Hi guys, welcome to the channel. If you like hearing stories about the 90s, subscribe. Let's get into it. The Source magazine was established in 1988 by two white Harvard-educated rap enthusiasts. It's the world's longest-running hip-hop publication. Music editor for the magazine, Reginald Dennis, said the following about how the magazine was founded. In an interview with Hip Hop DX, he said, Dave Mays and John Schechter were roommates at Harvard, and after bonding over their love for black culture, they started a hip-hop show on the campus station. I think Dave had already been working for the station at the time, selling radio spots to local businesses, and figured there might be some money to be made in the emerging hip-hop market. Each issue started a conversation, whether it was reporting on the genre and the debate surrounding it, or highlighting the personal lives of the artists, as well as shining light on new and up-and-coming talent. Biggie Smalls was featured in the Source's Unsigned Hype column, and that's how he got his big break.
Biggie, DMX, Eminem, Common, Mobb Deep, Capone and Nori, David Banner, Joel Santana, Jay Electronica. There's others. All of these artists got their start, in the Source Unsigned Hype, and many of them we were basically got them their record deals.
In 1991, the Source began handing out trophies on a special episode of Yo MTV Raps. Remember that show? MTV was everything in the 90s. Many of us would sit and watch music videos all day, and it sucked if we didn't have cable or Sky. Yo MTV Raps was an iconic show, usually hosted by different artists, and Dr. Dre hosted the show along with his friend Ed Lover, and it was originally hosted by Fab Five Freddy. In 1994, the official Source Awards became a full-scale production, kind of like the Oscars of hip-hop. All the big names in hip-hop were invited to attend, and it was held at the Paramount Theatre in Madison Square Gardens, the same venue the following year. And the awards went off with a bang. Both 94 and 95 were two of the most pivotal years in the history of the Source Awards. The Source Awards gave us many iconic performances and many high-profile moments. Let's take a look. 1994 was the year that Tupac performed and got into a little beef with a tribe called Quest. But before we look at that, let's take a look at what happened with Onyx. In case you didn't know, Onyx were a rap group from Queens, New York. Members included Q from Moesha, also known as Fredro Starr, Suave, the late Big DS, and last but not least, Sticky Fingers. Naturally, as one of the hottest groups in hip-hop at the time, they were asked to perform. Their performance wasn't actually aired on TV, but the performance was definitely memorable. So Onyx jumps on stage to perform their song, Throw Your Guns. And it wasn't just enough to sing about it. They had to demonstrate for the crowd. Well, not the whole group. It was just Sticky Fingers. And his fingers were definitely sticking to that gun. He decided to fire a few rounds up into the air. Apparently he was upset that they hadn't actually won an award. They had been nominated for several. The crowd went pretty wild. The next scandal that occurred that night is something that we see quite frequently at award shows. It has become somewhat of a trend, probably made most famous by Kanye West. And that's interrupting somebody's performance or acceptance speech, even gatecrashing the stage, stealing someone's shine. There are many examples of this. At the 1996 Brit Awards, many remember Jarvis Cocker gatecrashing the stage during Michael Jackson's moving performance of the Earth Song, where he made himself into some type of messiah figure. Jarvis was so offended by this, I think he wanted to bring Michael down a peg or two, so he jumps on stage, stands there for a bit, then proceeds to moon the crowd. Jarvis was arrested on sight, unlike some people, and spent the night in jail. When he got out, Jarvis explained why he did what he did. He said Michael was presenting himself in some sort of Jesus act, and he found it distasteful.
Rival fans continued the dispute here as they waited for Kensington police to decide if Cocker was saint or sinner.
All they did was wiggle his bum, and then get kicked in by some bloke dressed as Buddha.
What about all the things that you said we were to gain?
On one side of the street, it's a case of what you did was right, me old cocker. On the other, it's look at poor Michael, he's ever so sad. What you did to him was really, really bad.
Then at the 98 Grammys, upset that Wu-Tang Clan lost to P. Diddy for the Best Rap Album, ODB decided to storm the stage while a singer called Colvin was accepting their award. You can see why a member of the Wu-Tang Clan was upset for losing to Puff Daddy, of all people. However, that wasn't Sean Colvin's fault.
I went and bought me an outfit today that costed a lot of money today. You know what I mean? Because I figured that Wu-Tang was going to win. Puffy is good, but Wu-Tang is the best, okay? I want y'all to know that this is ODB and I love you all. Peace.
Thank you, Mr. Budget. Is this us? Yeah. I'm confused now.
Then we know what Kanye did to Taylor Swift at the 2009 MTV VMAs.
I'm really happy for you. I'm gonna let you finish. But Beyonce had one of the best videos of all time.
Was it actually Tupac who set off this trend at the 94 Source Awards? So A Tribe Called Quest won Artist of the Year at the 94 Source Awards. They jumped up on stage to accept their award and began their acceptance speech. The crowd were on their feet, giving them a standing ovation, and they were about to start their speech. But then the music starts playing, and Tupac jumps on stage along with his hype men and begins closing out the show. Obviously, people were confused as to why this took place.
I'm confused now.
The people most confused were A Tribe Called Quest, and this started the Tupac and Q-Tip beef. But thankfully, this beef was short-lived. Busta Rhymes even intervened to help settle the beef. Tupac explained to Q-Tip that he meant no disrespect. It was actually the sound engineers who had messed up. They played the music too early. And you know when that music plays, that's your cue. You only get one shot. Busta Rhymes later called the whole thing a miscommunication. He said Q-Tip and Tupac were even planning to collaborate. They had settled things just before Tupac went to Vegas. And sadly, that opportunity never came. And you all know, the most iconic Source Awards moment goes to 1995.
And one other thing I'd like to say, any artist out there want to be an artist and want to stay a star, and don't want to have to worry about the executive producer trying to be all in the video, all on the record, dancing, come to Death Row.
So after Ruthless, Death Row became the biggest hip-hop label on the West Coast. And then on the East Coast, the fast-emerging Bad Boy Entertainment was soon gaining traction. Now, with the influence of NWA, hip-hop began to go down a different path, from conscious rap to gangster rap. There were different stages of rap. First, we had the comical, light-hearted, even goofy side of rap. Then we had the conscious rap. And then there was the emergence of gangster rap, which obviously came with a more hardened image. But you could say that Bad Boy brought back some of that fun side of hip-hop. Puffy was definitely all in the videos, dancing, and being goofy at times. And their performances had a lot of energy. They were slowly emerging as solid competitors of Death Row. Some people believe Suge was a little jealous of the competition. Biggie had won Album of the Year, Lyricist of the Year, Best New Artist. Craig Mack won an award for Flavor in Your Ear, Best Single, I think it was. And then they won an award for the Best Live Performance. So Bad Boy did dominate that year. Dre did win a couple of awards, and Snoop won Artist of the Year. But it really was Bad Boy's night. However, Death Row did win Motion Picture Soundtrack of the Year for Above the Rim, starring none other than Tupac. Suge was one of the executive producers for the Above the Rim soundtrack, and it was released through Death Row Records and Interscope. Tupac was in jail at the time. Had that not been the case, he probably would have been up on that stage along with Suge.
I'd like to tell Tupac to keep his guards up, we ride with him.
So that's probably why Suge shouted out Tupac when he was accepting the award. Many believe even at that time, Suge was already thinking of signing Tupac. Snoop says that he gave Suge the idea because he and Park were actually friends way before Park joined Death Row. But Suge said it was after he received a call from Keisha that he hopped on the plane to New York and went to see Tupac. So after Suge does his Come to Death Row speech, Snoop jumps up on stage and makes the situation worse.
I mean, the whole crowd started booing, and then I thought to myself, like, why would you do that?
The East Coast don't love Dr. Dre and Snoop Dogg. The East Coast ain't got no love for Dr. Dre and Snoop Dogg and Death Row.
It was considered an iconic moment, and many of us look back on it fondly, even find it quite amusing. However, there are those who also believe that it was the start of the East versus West Coast beef that had deadly consequences. Just a month after the Source Awards, on the 23rd of September, another more serious incident occurred that really was the start of a war between the two labels. It's not known for sure if the Source Awards exacerbated this incident, but it very well could have. Both Suge and Puffy attended Jermaine Dupri's birthday party in Atlanta at the Platinum nightclub on Peachtree Street. Suge attended the party with his homeboy, Jai Hassan Jamal Robles, also known as Jake. Jake did the marketing for Death Row. He was hired by Suge as soon as he got out of prison. This wasn't unheard of. Suge would often hire ex-cons to give them opportunities outside of prison to help them get on their feet again.
You have gang-affiliated people working at the Row?
I wouldn't say it's gang-affiliated people. It's people from the ghetto, because Death Row is a company that I gave opportunities and still give opportunities to people who normally wouldn't get opportunities.
According to an off-duty sheriff who was doing security that night, an argument broke out between members of Bad Boy and members of Death Row. He eventually told Puffy, Suge, and their entourages to leave the club. He escorted them out separately. First, he escorted out Puffy's group. Then he proceeded to escort Suge out to his limo. When, quote, all of a sudden, Puffy's guys came from around the corner and one of them had a gun. The guy took a shot at Suge's partner. He shot him 2 or 3 times. This guy and a bunch of others got into a car and drove off. It was Jake who had been shot. Sadly, he passed away 2 weeks after the incident. One of the people arguing with Suge and Jake that night was Puffy's bodyguard, Anthony Wolf Jones. And listen to this. The off-duty officer identified him as the shooter, and at the time, both Puffy and Jones denied having anything to do with the incident. Both Puffy and Jones were co-defendants. They both faced gun charges for an incident that happened in 2001 in a New York nightclub where Jada was also present. It was Shine who actually ended up taking the fall for everybody, and he received a 9-year prison sentence. And once again, Puffy ended up getting off scot-free. But the 2001 trial actually prompted law enforcement to reopen Jake's case and look a little further into the investigation. And it prompted Puffy's lawyers, including Johnny Cochran, to release the following statement. Mr. Combs had absolutely nothing whatsoever to do with the incident in 1995. We do not believe that the timing of this story is coincidence, but rather part of a concerted effort by members of the law enforcement community to compromise Mr. Combs' chances to have a fair trial in his New York City case. And for some reason, Atlanta police never did a follow-up interview with the off-duty sheriff. Neither did they interview any of the other witnesses who also identified Jones as the shooter. They even had a roll of film with images from that night, but they never showed it to any of the witnesses so they could pick out the shooter themselves. But at the time, they maintained that they were actively investigating the case. In follow-up interviews in Source magazine, Suge called out Puffy and said that he holds him personally responsible for the death of his friend. The off-duty sheriff, Chris Howard, said the following. It's like this. I was standing 3 feet away from the shooter and I got a real good look at him. The one who did the shooting was the ringleader of the group who was there with Puffy. If someone showed me the photo right now, I could still recognize him, no question. And Jake's mother urged law enforcement to solve the murder of her only child. In 2003, Anthony Wolf Jones was shot and killed in an Atlanta nightclub. Just 38 at the time, Anthony Wolf Jones was gunned down along with another man, apparently after an argument over a woman at 4 a.m. in Buckhead, the heart of the city's entertainment district. After the 95 Source Awards, the whole event went on a 3-year hiatus. A lot of things fell apart in hip-hop after the death of Tupac Shakur in 96, including what was essentially the downfall of Death Row Records. Between 96 and 98, there were no Source Awards, but it returned in 1999. So the 99 Source Awards was hosted by Left Eye and Tretch from Naughty by Nature. It went off without any hiccups, and winners included Lauryn Hill, Janet Jackson, Busta Rhymes, and the Flip Mode Squad. Then it all went downhill again at the 2000 Source Awards. That was filmed in California. It was at the Pasadena Civic Auditorium, and many believe the heat was a factor, that perhaps having it in California wasn't the best move. So a couple of fights broke out. There was a fight in the audience itself and a fight backstage. People ended up exiting the event. So one publication said, Meshach Black, publisher of Chronic magazine, saw a fight break out near the stage. Let's just say that an individual was being beaten because another individual may have tried to take some jewelry from him. It wasn't something like East versus West Coast, not even. And then another source said that a fight broke out after someone tugged on E40's chain and basically tried to snatch it from his neck. Apparently the situation was made worse due to the conditions of the venue. Set changes took forever and it was really hot. There wasn't any concession stands, nowhere to get any cold drinks or water and food. So you know how people get when they're hungry. There was apparently supposed to be an epic medley with Dre, Eminem, Snoop and Corrupt, but it had to be scrapped. A performance with Method Man and Redman was also cancelled. Benzino became co-owner of the magazine. He was heavily involved in many of the publications. After not receiving a 5 mic rating he felt he deserved for his Marshall Mathers LP, Eminem started dissing the Source. Benzino claimed that Eminem was the product of a machine that sought to discredit Black and Latino artists and their contributions to hip-hop. Benzino released a diss record called I Don't Wanna, where he claimed that Eminem was not real and true to the rap culture. Benzino dissed Eminem again, and Eminem responded with 2 diss tracks. Eminem dissed the publication, accusing them of butt-kissing artists to get features and not really being taken seriously within the industry. In the song Bully, Eminem accuses Benzino of being delusional and living a fabricated life of denial. Lyrics include, that's what he says to himself, as he uses magazines to trash me, as he sits with both feet up at his desk, smokes a bag of his weed and starts imagining things, and he can't see that he's manically depressed. The Source fought back and actually leaked some tapes of Eminem rapping racial slurs against black women. Eminem swiftly issued an apology, saying, the tape they played today was something I made out of anger, stupidity and frustration when I was a teenager, even though technically he was 21. I'd just broken up with my girlfriend, who was African American, and I reacted like the angry, stupid kid I was. I hope people will take it for the foolishness that it was, not for what somebody is trying to make it into today. Eminem sued the Source for defamation and copyright infringement. The federal courts allowed an injunction to limit the distribution of the tapes and the lyrics. The Source ignored the injunction and went ahead to publish the entire lyrics on its website and in its magazine. By ignoring the injunction, the Source was found to be in contempt of court and were forced to pay Eminem and his label. Shady Records received a considerable sum in compensation. In 2005, Eminem's legal team abruptly halted legal proceedings for copyright infringement. Eminem said that he had no issue with the source. Benzino and Dave Mays called the withdrawal a cowardly move. They claimed that they were going to expose Eminem for his alleged racist lyrics. But in the end, the source was satisfied with the outcome and they considered it a win for both parties. Benzino still continued to beef with Eminem, but later that year, he formally announced that he was resigning as Chief Operations Officer and co-owner of The Source. The Source Awards stopped airing in 2004, and there are rumours that it is making a comeback. So entertainment attorney L. Londell Macmillan, who worked with Prince for years, said he is spearheading the comeback of the Source Awards. He is the chairman of the North Star Group, which now owns the Source magazine and the website. As well as working with Prince, he has also worked with Kanye West, Shaka Khan, Stevie Wonder, and Lil' Kim. He said the following: "Hip-hop needs its premiere award show back. After every award show, our social media at The Source explodes. So back by popular demand. So with all the drama that The Source Awards has brought us over the years, would you be happy to see it back?" Thanks for watching. Share your thoughts below, you know I read the comments. Like and subscribe for weekly videos. And don't forget to click the bell for more.